Welcome to Classic Value Investors. My name is Mariusz Konieczny, and I want to talk about the tankers today. I'm not interviewing anyone, I'm just going to talk about them myself. And to be honest with you, I was typing up a tweet on Twitter, and every time I'm like, no, I don't want to say this. I'm going to offend someone. I'm going to piss someone off. And this is like the third time I'm taking out the camera, and finally I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this video because I find it really fascinating, and not necessarily from the point of view of the valuation of the oil tanker stocks behavior, but more the behavior of the people that are involved with these names, and some people that are not even involved, that are just commentating. So I'm talking about the people that are holding them and the people that are not holding them, and just commentating and poking at the people that are holding these names. I guess one of the tweets that kind of made me want to do this video is Calvin's tweet, who, as you know, on Twitter, CALVINIST was the biggest bull and was talking about the tankers for quite some time. And today he finally said that he sold all of his positions because he doesn't want to be stressed out anymore, and he gave all sorts of other reasons. And I'm not saying this to criticize him or anything, not at all. He's a very smart guy, but this just shows you how difficult investing is just in general, and how difficult it is to control the emotions and stresses and all sorts of things like this. I just think that in general, people are not psychologically ready when it comes to investing in the stock market, and more specifically in the less followed names that are more volatile. And I joked around I actually texted Copy today, and I said to him that I think that people in general who invest in the stock market would benefit from getting their asses whooped by the junior mining space, okay? Because if you never invested in junior miners, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you invested in junior miners, and I mean invested, like a lot of your money, like I did at some point, 100% of my money was in junior miners. And when you're talking about junior miners, I mean, the volatility and the craziness in junior miners is 10 times worse what it is in the oil tanker stocks. I mean, oil tanker stocks volatility is nothing compared to the junior miners. I mean, these guys can move 30% within hours. And so I think that if more people got their asses whooped in junior miners, then being involved in the oil tanker stocks, it would be just like a walk in the park, like nothing. And that's why when I see some of these tweets and I see people giving up or having a hard time with this volatility, I mean, I get that volatility, because volatility has consequences, and I get that. I mean, in the past, I used to manage money for people, and because of such volatility, mostly in the junior mining space, I pretty much lost my business. I lost 2 businesses because of volatility. So volatility has consequences, and I understand that. If you get involved in names like oil tanker stocks or the junior miners or microcap stocks that have multi-bagger potential, you have to pay the price. And the price that you pay for getting involved in names like these is extreme volatility, and that includes volatility to the downside. And that's the price you have to pay. There's no other way around it. If you don't want volatility, then buy yourself Apple, Microsoft, or the names that are accepted by everyone. But the price that you will pay by owning those names is that you will not have multi-bagger potential, okay? You can have volatility 10 times going up and 10% going down. It just doesn't exist. So as an investor yourself, you have to understand that if you get involved in these names, that's simply just the price you have to pay. And if you're not willing to accept that, and especially when you go big into these positions, they can be down 50. I mean, imagine owning a portfolio of, 5 or 6 junior miners, and then some of them go down 90 to 95% on you. I mean, that's volatility, that's stress. 30% for oil tankers, that's nothing. It's just like walking in the park. So I feel bad for people who get involved in these names thinking that they're going to make all this money, all these multi-bagger potentials, and when these stocks move against them, they don't have the mental capacity to handle this kind of stress. And another thing that I find interesting, stupid, ridiculous in these oil tanker stocks, which I don't really experience in other names, because I tend to go into places where there's very few people talking about these stocks. But even with like Oracle, for example, I mean, it's been one of the most successful trades for me, not only from the point of view of the amount that it went up, but how much I had in this name. So it really changed my life. But even with this name, my portfolio was up and down 40, 50%, my entire portfolio within weeks, one way or the other. And along the way, there were always doubters and cheerleaders and trolls that kept poking me, telling me how wrong I am, how stupid I am. And with the oil tankers, that's like magnified 10 times. I just find it fascinating on Twitter how everyone has an opinion about these stocks. And, every time it goes down, they like to tell you how they're right or how they're wrong. And of course, such a behavior, it makes it more difficult to hold on to these names. But, at the end of the day, you got to know why you own these things. And even if you did the research, even if you understand why you own these things, I do realize that it's difficult to hold them where every day you look at your screen and you see red. And now, obviously, everyone can look at their phone and check the VLCC rates, and they're obviously much lower than they were when a lot of you got involved. So now it's like, oh my God, the rates are so low, these companies are not going to make any money. And we forget how much money they made over the last 9 months. And we also conveniently like to forget that those rates, the rates that are low, this is probably one of the best things that can happen to this industry, because we were talking about how the order book is so low, right? We were the entire time talking about how 25% of these ships are 15 years or older. Well, in order for those ships to get scrapped, the best thing you can do is have low rates. And I wish actually that those low rates go even lower so we actually get the scrapping. You cannot get the scrapping and you cannot have high rates and high rate of scrapping at the same time. You need low rates in order to get scrapping. And then that scrapping will bring high rates into the future. So if you understand the thesis, you knew this is what was going to happen. You knew that we would have high rates. Those high rates were going to repair the balance sheets of the oil tanker stocks. They were going to take the earnings to levels that they've never seen before, and this is exactly what happened. Now, the destocking and the disappearance of floating storage is causing the rates to come down, but after the destocking and floating storage is worked off, then you can have refiners and producers get back to their normal activity, increasing the rates. And I know that everyone likes to be talking about how, oh, you know, we're going to have a second shutdown. The oil demand is not going to be to the level that it was. You know what? I'm here to tell you, we're not going to have a second shutdown. No one fucking cares anymore about this virus, okay? At least where I live, no one gives a shit anymore. There is going to be no second shutdown, okay? And when it comes to the oil demand, okay, at this point, oil demand is going up at a very fast rate. And more people are driving than they are taking public transportation. And then so the bears are saying, okay, well, but what about jet demand? What about jet demand? Who cares about jet demand? It's 7% of the total oil demand. Who cares? Let's say jet demand recovers 50%. So we're only talking about 7 divided by 3.5. You don't think we can get 3.5 by people driving more? Come on, you know. I think being negative on the economy, I think this is what got you in the oil tankers in the first place, the negative mindset. I think it's time now to change that mindset and think about recovery. And if you're thinking about recovery in the airline stocks or recovery in the economy, why are we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the recovery in the oil consumption? You know, we like to stay negative on that, but positive on that. I don't see it like this. I think that what's going to happen over the next 2 months is that we're going to, just like it happened in the dry bulk, we're going to start seeing some positive news from OPEC. We're gonna get them producing more. We're gonna start seeing refineries come back online. And when you start seeing some kind of positivity, people will start piling into these names, and it will be panic buying. But it's gonna be a few weeks, maybe a couple months. I don't see it happening any much longer. But during the time, I expect, you know, people will continue puking these shares. Who cares? You know, and if the bears are saying, okay, there's 40% more downside, okay, so what? Bring them down 40 more percent. If you like them here, when they drop more, you should like them more, right? So anyway, these are just my thoughts on the oil tankers. I think the people that are involved in these names and commentating on these names, I think they are more ridiculous than the actual stock prices themselves.